So in the last episode you might have seen that we got all 4 of the walls up for the workshop, and in this episode we're going to get the roof on.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, 'cause every time
we're going to show you everything from putting the joists on the roof and completing the roof deck with the USB.
look at anything the same way, gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so
right through to where we get the EDPM rubber roof up on the roof and settled. So we'll show you all of that in this episode, plus I'm sure much more. And it's freezing out here. You think all that work I did in the summer on the renovation series, and now I've come outside in, I think it was -1 when I came out here this morning, to build a workshop. I must be mad, right? First thing we're going to do is pull all the joists round. They're 4.8 metre lengths, so we've got a 4 metre span plus an overhang. So 6x2 will be plenty. If you're copying along to this project, you could use 5x2s bolted together, and that would give you a little bit more head height. So choosing a 6x2 saves me a little bit of work because I haven't got to bolt them together, but it does lose me a little bit of head height. But that's a trade-off that I chose. We've got our roof joists here. What we're going to do first is cut them to length. Now we've got an 80mm overhang on the back edge and a 455 overhang on the front edge. By the time we've got a perimeter on, that will bring us up to a 500mm overhang. So first we'll cut all the joists on the saw so we know the lengths are correct, and then we'll get them up onto the tops of the wall plates and space them out every 400. I'll show you all of that once we've got them cut. So we've got some joists cut to length. Now we're going to start to fix them onto the top plates on the front and the back of the building. Now they're going to be 400 centres, just like our uprights were. The first one will sit just against this side wall plate, and then we'll spike that down from the top using some 100mm screws. Then 400 centres, so the second one will be here, and we'll be able to screw up through the top plate here into the bottom of that joist. So we're going to get the first one up off the side wall there, and the first one up on that side wall. Then we'll run a string line across the front so that we know exactly where all of the joists need to go, so we get them all perfectly in line along the front. Otherwise, when we put the fascia on there, it's going to be all skew whiff, and that we don't want. So me a bit. Yeah, spot on. So we've got an 80mm overhang on the back, which should give us 455 on the front. I'm letting Chris do a little bit of the work. He said he wanted to do some of the work. I like to do it all normally, but you know, he said he wanted to do some. He's put a string line up. You can see that the string line runs from the first joist to the end joist, and then we can lift each joist onto the back wall plate and front wall plate. And what we're going to be able to do is then slide the joist forward until it's 1 millimetre from the string line. And that's the best way to make sure that all of the joists sit in line with one another and that they're in the correct position. So to fix the joists in place, all we do is go up from the bottom with some 100mm screws. And the screws, compared to nails, just pull it a little bit tighter on the roof, because on the walls we use nails. But the screws just pull it that little bit tighter. So that, if we look, is all the joists up now. And what we're going to do now is just fix the end ones. If you come this way, we'll put a bit of timber from this top plate here onto this joist. Because they're quite long lengths, they do tend to bow a little bit. So we'll fix this in position, we'll fix the other end in position, and then we'll put a row of noggins down the middle, and that stops them bowing or twisting. We've got some rain coming in and we're running out of light, so we're fighting against time now to get this stapled to the walls to protect it so the building can't succumb to any moisture. And we're going to put a big tarpaulin over the joists because we haven't got time to get the roof boarded today. We've got it from the floor to the roof joists in less than 3 days, about 2.5 days. Because I'm talking to the camera and moving the camera around, things do take longer when you're filming, often double the time actually. And we need to get this watertight before the rain comes in. So we're going to whack this breathable membrane on. We're going to just carry that around the building, cut it around the door and staple it to the OSB, and that will protect the OSB. Before I do that, what I'm going to do is, and this will all make sense to you guys who saw the first few episodes, if you haven't seen them, go check them out. I explained to you before that we leave the shuttering on to keep the DPM nice and tidy. And what we can do now, before we put the membrane on, is lift that DPM up and staple that up, around the edges of the building, and that stops any moisture tracking under the walls and getting up into the timber. I'll fold it over on the corners and I'll just staple the whole lot, but I've got a little strip of OSB I just need to put in here before we put the membrane on. Now the breathable membrane's really easy to use. All you need to do is unroll it off the roll, wrap it around the building, and then you can just staple it in place with a staple gun, and you just overlap each pass as you go so that no moisture can get behind it. Guys, you can't really see me, but we've ran out of light. Chris is actually shining an impact driver light on my face. We have got a tarpaulin on the roof, we've got the rhino vent on, but we've completely lost the light. I'll pick up the camera again on the next dry, light day. Right, we've got daylight again. We completely ran out of daylight the other day and had to chuck a tarpaulin over the roof to keep the rain out. But we're back at it, and what we're doing at the minute is just putting some laddering down the side just to hold the perimeter for the cabin boards and the trims for the EDPM roof. I'll jump up on the roof in a minute and show you exactly what I mean once we've got these in place, but all we're doing is putting some essentially noggins along the edge of this joist here and screwing through to hold them on the top of the wall plate.
Baby, I have a taste, all the highs and the lows. No, you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay.
And it was all going pretty well until that just happened. Don't you just love a 100-screw pickup?
I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay.
Right, you join me up on the roof. We now have a solid box. Joists are in, noggins are in, and we've done the ladder and perimeter around the side. I'll grab the camera off the tripod, take you around and show you how we did the ladder and explain it all to you a little bit better so that you understand it fully. Excuse me if I'm not looking at the camera. I don't want to fall through because that'd do some good views on YouTube. You can see the joists that we put on the top plate of the front and the back wall, and then we've created this laddering around the edge. Now that'll give us our overhang. You can see how we've formed this overhang here. Now we've put our laddering in, so we've screwed to the end joist here, put these pieces of timber in here, and then screwed the perimeter all the way around the building. That gives us a nice big overhang on the front and an overhang and a small overhang all the way around. But the overhang not only gives us the ability to put downlights in, gives it a nice effect, but also protects the building from our Great British weather. So that's where we're up to. Now what we need to do is get the OSB up here. If you're following along, what you want to do is get a few boards up here to lay your tools on and give yourself a bit of an area to work from and walk around as well, because otherwise you're going to end up falling through. So let's get some tools up and start laying this stuff. 18mm OSB tongue and groove, and what we're going to do, we're going to make this one by gluing it together, and we're going to nail it down with the nail gun. 50mm ring shanks. You don't have to use them, you can use screws just like we did with the walls, though I prefer to use the nails because it doesn't pull the timber in and blister it. It gives you a nicer finish. So the nail's probably your preferred choice, but if all you've got is an impact driver and screws, go with that. So what we're going to do, nail this front edge first with the tongue facing away from us. We'll work from this left hand corner. Roof's nice and square, so it's pretty easy. We'll nail this front edge. Now don't nail this edge yet, because that edge will give us a little bit of flexibility to slide the tongue into. So that makes it a little bit easier. So we'll get the first row nailed down on this front edge. We'll glue all the joints and then slide them in as we go. Chris, just pass me that glue and I'll show them what glue we use. So this is 5-minute. I don't know if you can see. Can they see that on the camera? Is it too far away? Bring us in closer. This is the logo's come off. 5-minute lumberjack glue. I think it's from Tool Station, 20 odd quid. Once we've got it in the joint, it'll go off really quickly. It'll go off nice and hard as well, and it'll expand and leave foam out of the joints. And then what you do, once that's gone hard, you just go along and you scrape that off. And just like we did with the walls, we'll start by nailing the board in the corners. Just stick a couple in it for now. Because we've left this edge unnailed, you see, we've still got a bit of manoeuvrability to slide this next board in. Now it doesn't matter that the tongue and groove doesn't fall on a joist. Because we're gluing it, that will make the roof one, and it'll be perfectly fine to have your joints not falling on a joist. Bit of glue on that joint. Glue's gone cold. Yeah. To reduce the waste, that bit that we cut off that end then starts our next row back up the other end again. And that means we're always using that offcut to stagger the joints. So the tongue slots into our first board. Hopefully you can see that. What we're going to do is just overhang the roof very slightly because it's not perfectly square. It is actually a couple of mil out, which I'm quite happy with on a building of this size. And what we're going to do is put a straight edge along it and run the saw along the overhang at the end. And that allows us to get all the edges perfect on the roof deck here before we put the EDPM rubber roof down. Once you get going, it gets a bit easier because you've got something to walk on. So once you've got the first couple of rows up, you're good to go really. Just keep working in one direction.
You'll never be the same. I don't really want to hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through.
That's pretty much it for the roof deck. What we're going to do now is just run along the edges with the saw. It's going to get dark in about an hour, so we'll probably cover this back up with the tarpaulin, and then in the morning we will put the EDPM roof on. I'll show you the whole process, so I'll pick up the camera then. Right, it's a new day. Actually, it's a nice day. The first bit of sunny weather on this whole project so far. So this morning what we've done is just gone around the edges and sanded down the corners. Now if you can see that there, we've just given them a little sand down, and that is just to take the sharp corner off so it doesn't puncture the rubber roof. It's really thick rubber, so it shouldn't puncture anyway, but belts and braces, I feel better if I take the sharp corners off. So I've done that. We then scraped all the glue from the joints because it foams up a little bit, so we got a scraper, took all that off, and then give it a blow with a blower so all of the dirt from our boots and glue and everything like that is off the roof. And we've now got a ladder here, and we're going to get the EDPM sheet up onto the roof. We'll lay it up on here, unroll it and get it on roughly. You see, most people don't film this bit because it's actually probably the hardest bit of getting the rubber roof on the roof. Oh god, that's going to pull me off the roof.
Happy day.
That was easy.
Yeah, I'm sure it was for you.
We've unrolled the sheet of EDPM and now we're just going to stretch it out over the roof. Why are you laying down on the job?
Because I can't get down.
Because I can't get down. Someone moved the ladder. Right, so we have got the EDPM laid out on the roof. It's nice and square, and we've got enough excess hanging over the sides to work with. What we're going to do now is let that settle for a few days out in the sun. That'll just get all the little creases out and things like that, and then we'll come back and we'll glue it down. But for now, what we're going to do is just screw some battens around the side just to hold it there so the wind doesn't blow it away. So none of this EDPM here on the fascia is going to show because you're going to have cabin board or fascia board over this, and then the rubber roof trims on there as well. So we could, if we wanted, just screw through there to hold the rubber in place while it settles. Right, roof's on. I'm going to end this episode here, and then in the next episode we're going to be getting the battens on this thing, cladding it, and maybe some other fun stuff as well. So make sure, if you're not subscribed already, that you subscribe now because you don't want to miss out on future episodes. Like the video if it's helped you out or if you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.